lot of people struggle drawing polygons. You draw a circle and equally spread out dots on that circle. Number of dots is number of sides that you want. You connect the dots and then remove the circle. That is probably what you are more inclined to see in a textbook. So what is the difference between this and this? They're not equal sides. Good. If I take a look at this, triangles. Goes back to what we've been learning about. Good. So a regular polygon be built by using congruent. Okay, let's think about that for a second. We've talked about congruent in multiple different times and places. We talked about congruent with similarity. We talked about congruent with angle relationships. We talked about congruent in triangles. Congruent. Brandon, what's congruent? Same. Good. Congruent. Congruent isosceles triangles. What you notice here is a five-sided shape. How many triangles do you see? 5. And they are all congruent. If I drew it perfectly, which I didn't draw perfectly, just use your imagination. So we talked about congruent isosceles. Isosceles trapezoid showed up on the test. We more commonly talk about isosceles triangles, though. What is an isosceles triangle? Isosceles means what? Joe, what do we got? What do we think?
I mean, there's one pair of equal sides.
Good. You gotta say it with confidence so the whole class can enjoy your.
There's one pair of congruent sides.
Good. This side marked with that little tally and that little tally just means that this side length equals that side length. If I look over here, all of those lines equal each other. So put them all together, you have congruent isosceles triangles. Okay, if we continue through the learning target, any other words that we need to touch base on? Students will also learn how to find central angles of regular polygons. Okay, central angles is a new concept we haven't talked about yet, but just based off the word central angles, what do we think that might be referring to? Andy?
Between the parallel sides.
Between?
Yeah.
Central? Middle? Let me turn my music down just a hair. When you have a polygon and you cut it into triangles, it creates central angles. Central angle, central angle, central angle, central angle. Now you're just getting ahead of us. We'll get there. Just simultaneous. It's a good time group. Okay, so that's our learning target. I do apologize, there's a lot of bigger words and new concepts in this learning target. But by the end of class today, when we do our closure, then this should all make sense to us. Today we're doing less problem solving as far as math and equations and things like that. Today is more about building shapes and playing with shapes in order to gain knowledge about concepts. So if you came today looking forward to solving a bunch of equations, sorry, today is not the day for that. But we will be doing a lot of table group work and working through some problems in order to think about the patterns that we see in math is the big work for today. Oftentimes at the beginning of our units, that's where we start, is finding patterns. And then we model it later with mathematics and problem solving. So today, think about patterns and see math in the real world. The more you use the information today, the more you are engaged in the classwork, the more you'll get out of this and the quicker it'll make sense. We are moving on to chapter 8, polygons, so go ahead and update your table of contents for chapter 8. Today on 4/18/22. Is it hard to believe the month is already halfway over? I think there's only, if you count this week, there's only like 4 weeks, like 4 weeks that are full weeks. 4 schools out? Yeah, but we just have to make it 4 through only a few more long weeks, regular sized weeks. So we're getting close. Okay, how can I build it?
Is it up yet?
Question, I knew it was coming, Asiel. No, it's not up yet.
I'm gonna do it at lunch. I'm gonna email you.
Okay.
Is it up, man?
Asiel and I are going to race. Who's going to get it done faster? Is he going to finish the homework first, or am I going to get it posted? We're about a 50-50. Okay. Up on the board, homework for today's assignment 8.1.1. 3 questions for standard, 3 questions for honors. Only 1 question is different. Please make sure that you write down the correct one for you. It is on the board as well, and it will be posted probably at lunch. Just so I can beat Asiel.
Yeah, I got first lunch too. So.
I have second lunch, cheater. Okay, so we talked about what we've been doing in previous chapters. We've talked a lot in our previous lessons how math continues to build on itself. Okay, just like Shrek. Ogres have layers. Parfaits. Onions. Okay? Math continues to build on previous knowledge to get new knowledge out of it. So we started with this. This was what kind of shape? Triangle. Good. We did a lot with triangles. We did a lot with right triangles. After we were doing a lot with triangles, then we moved on and we put 2 congruent triangles together, separated by a diagonal, in order to create what kind of shape?
Square?
Parallel.
I'm okay with a few of these answers that are being thrown out. Okay, so we got a quadrilateral. It's 4-sided shape. To me, it looks like it's technically not labeled, so we can't say for sure, but it looks like this is a parallelogram, which would be 2 pairs of parallel sides. It looks like it might even be a rhombus, which was said, which just means all 4 sides are equal. But in chapter 8, we're going to broaden our focus to learn about more polygons, not just triangles and quadrilaterals. So we're going to study what it means about having shapes that have maybe 5, 8, or even 100 different sides. But where I want to start is refreshing our memories a little bit on the names of different polygons. Resource managers, B. Well, pause. Before we get there, we are doing a lot of table group work today, so if you're alone or if you're in a table group of 2. If you're in a table group of 2, please join another table group of 2, and if you are by yourself, almost used sarcasm there to thank them about their quick rate of speed. I'm trying to cut back on the sarcasm
Why?
just a little bit. Just a little bit.
But it was still just the best part of class.
Just.
I see now you're trying to do it. Okay, come on.
I'm not saying I'm cutting it out, but maybe cut it back just a little bit. Let's see. Probably not very likely. What's up? Unit 7. Come on back. Can we do proofs and quads? Proofs and quads. Okay, now that our groups are more full, can I get the resource managers who are sitting in seat B? Sorry, you guys, I don't know how this happened after test day, but your seats got all mixed up. So everybody else's table group should be as they should be labeled. But B's, can you please get a pair of scissors for each person in your table group? I do need one. Okay, next task. Karen, are we taking care of an emergency? You need to take it in the hall? Okay, put your phone away, please. Oh, wait, please. Thank you. On your table, face down, you have a sheet of paper. Here in a second, you will flip this over. We're going to start cutting it into pieces. It does not need to be.
It's a race. The shooting.
You're going to cut out the numbers and the names. And in your table group, I want you to create 2 columns. One column is going to have the numbers, another column is going to have the names. And I want you to put in order the number of sides and the name that corresponds with the number of sides. There may be a prize involved if we have a group that scores higher than the rest of the groups. I'll give you about 7 minutes here to get these cut out and organized. Use your team's resources wisely and get these sorted. Ready, go.
Unhelpful.
That's nice. You're not worried about me.
Alright, now you keep with that.
Yeah.
Get rid of one. We're just doing extras.
One of them.
She said one.
Yeah. I'm just paying off. Put them here so you can all see the yeah. I'm not sure if What is it, decagon? it's either 10 or 100. It's either 10 or 100.
Nope.
Pretty sure there was 100. Wait, what's that? No.
That'd be a good idea.
There's 72. Yeah, there's 72.
So in your columns, you will start with 3, then 4, then 5, and then the names next to them.
I feel like I'm missing one somewhere, but so that's the one. Then pretty sure it's also 11. That'd be awesome. So we have that. What about 7? Quad is over 4, we know that. I'm trying to go on
Literally 11. What is that?
just 11. Oh my god. Was there 100 for one of them? Or I feel like I dropped one somewhere. Was there 100 or?
How many numbers do you have and how many names do you have? Have you sorted yet? We're just cutting.
Wait, where's the 8? Octagon is 8. Right?
So where did I go? Why is 11 not?
Work together as a team.
I'm like, this is one of the
The difference, the evil one and the good one.
I don't want to get in trouble.
Well, he didn't want to see what the
I'm saying that's the point.
Okay. Wait.
Yeah.
Thank God.
It's literally says, and then
Using conjecture? Okay. Okay, 1 minute. Hold tight. No, you're gonna tell me in a minute.
72. Not 72. So I'm trying to make it.
Hey, ready for this? You did not just block my shot.
This is a number.
Did you lose the first time? I don't think you dropped. Wait, I don't think you lost because there's only 2 numbers left.
All right. Attention back here in 5. I know I have your attention if I see your eyeballs. Okay, we're going to try something. Remember how well our choral response went last time? It's choral response.
I know.
Coral, like underwater.
Cor-
Something.
coral reef. Coral reef is in the ocean and
Sharp.
all together. They are sharp.
We are going
Just
to
like you. You're very sharp. Okay, choral response, we are going to say it all together. Just like a chorus. Sings all together. So I will say a shape, and we are going to, as a class, I'm going to count down
Say coral.
from 3, 2, 1, and then you're going to say the number of sides. So how many sides does a line have? One. So I would say line, and I would say 3, 2, 1, and you would all say,
One.
Really?
okay, we'll try that again. You will say 1. I will say 3, 2, 1.
10.
One. This is gonna be so good.
What does coral have to do with this?
He meant chorus.
No, it's choral. Choral response.
Chorus.
It's something we're trying to argue. Quarrel. Isn't quarreling like a word for arguing?
I think that's the thing.
Spelled differently.
But it sounds the same.
It does sound the same. English is crazy.
I know, we have the word guy.
Okay. Can you just, I won't even ask a question this time. I'll just say, after 3 seconds, you're going to say 2. Make sense?
Yes.
3, 2, 1,
Two.
Thank you. Moving on. If you are confident, even if you're not, act confident. My wife gives me a hard time all the time because I make things up, but I'm confident about it, so she doesn't know if I'm right or not. Sometimes you just act confident about things, then people believe you. But be confident in your answers. Keep track of how many you got right as a table group. We'll start with triangle, and then I will say in 3, 2, 1, you will say how many sides a triangle has. Triangle in 3, 2, 1,
Three.
3. Quadrilateral, 3, 2, 1,
Four.
4. Those are the two that we focused on most. I'm pretty sure we all got triangle and quadrilateral. Triangle, tri is 3, quad. Good. Anybody ever rid a quad before? A four-wheeler, an ATV? They're called a quad for a reason. Pentagon in 3, 2, 1, 5. You might be sensing a pattern. Anybody know an example of a pentagon? It's in Washington, D.C.
The
White
The
House.
Pentagon. Good.
Oh,
Good job. What shape is the pentagon?
it's a pentagon.
It's a pentagon.
No, actually, I think it's a house.
Good job. Hexagon in 3, 2, 1.
Six.
Good. Heptagon in 3, 2, 1.
Seven.
Octagon in 3, 2, 1.
Eight.
Good. Nonagon, one of the lesser known, in 3, 2, 1.
Nine.
Oh, you guys are so good. Almost like I'm doing this in order. Decagon in 3, 2, 1.
10.
Decagon. Where have I thought? What does that make me? How many years are in a decade?
Yes.
10.
You're surprised.
10 years in a decade. 10 sides to a decagon. This one might be one of the toughest.
And
11 in 3, 2, 1.
11.
And N.
And God.
3, 2, 1. Thank you, Osio. 3, 2, 1.
And God.
Okay. How many groups got them all right? Okay, the groups that got them all right, you decide.
you got one
Do
more?
only you guys get a prize, or does everybody?
Everybody.
Okay, if we can do this in a timely fashion and somewhat orderly, then please, everybody come get a snack out of the snack box and then quickly return to your seat.
There's no fancy name for the.
Hold on.
There's an
I don't think you need
Hey. Well, where'd you get that?
Go ahead and join a group. Bands. Did you put your bands in the recycling?
What?
Alright, thank you for being quick about that. Please make sure you do not make a mess of my classroom, so that way I know whether or not I can more frequently hand out snacks. I do not care if you eat them in my class, I just ask that I do not listen to you chew, because I'm not one of those people that watches videos of people eating. It drives me absolutely berserk. So moving forward, get your attention to the TV. There it is. It's over there in the corner. I didn't move it. It's been there the whole time. Inez loves pinwheels. One day in class she noticed that if she put 3 congruent triangles together so that one set of corresponding angles are adjacent, she can make a shape look like a pinwheel. Here we go again, having a math statement with a lot of math words. Let's break this down a little bit, make sure we understand all these pieces. We already talked about this in our intro with our lesson plan. 3 congruent triangles. What are congruent triangles?
Same side.
Okay, so I've heard
Yeah,
equal,
1-to-1
I've heard
ratio.
same size, I've heard, what else, Yale?
1-to-1 ratio.
1-to-1. Good. We haven't even talked about that for a while. We've talked about congruent in multiple places. Here we're talking about 3 congruent triangles. Which means 3 triangles that are exactly the same, and we're putting them together so that one set of corresponding angles. We talked about corresponding angles earlier when we were talking about angle relationships. Okay. Corresponding angles are what?
It's the exact same. It's the same number, right?
Do we have a word for that, Asil?
Yeah, congruent.
Congruent? So we learned that those angles are in the same intersection and they are equal to each other. If I have 3 identical triangles, again, use your imagination, my drawing's not going to be perfect. This, and this, if they have equal measurements, are congruent triangles. These 3 are all going to be equal, and these 3 are all going to be equal.
But wasn't that like, if it has equal angles, it's not always congruent because it could be bigger, like the side ones.
They are always similar, but not always congruent. In this case, we have congruent triangles in a way that we know the side lengths are also the same, not just the angles. So we are working with congruent triangles, not similar. Okay. So if we do use congruent triangles, with putting the corresponding angles together, adjacent. When we're back to angle relationships, again, we're talking about math having layers, and things that we learn keep coming up. Adjacent, we talked about same side, interior, exterior, opposite side. When we did trigonometry, we learned about the opposite side, the hypotenuse side, and the adjacent side. So how would I explain adjacent in this case? Next two? Good. I'll take it. You'd put the three corresponding angles together next to each other in order to make a pinwheel. And you are going to be doing some of that in class today, if I can find my mouse. Before we get there, I want you to have a second to talk to your table group and try and think if there's anything that you can decipher, decide, find about the angles in the pinwheel. Are there any of these angles, based off the information that you have, previous units, previous knowledge, could you solve any of the angles that are included on the board? Talk to your table group. And then we'll bring you back together in group here momentarily.
I can't really think of anything.
I mean,
What about you?
probably, right? So they just figure it, just find what it equals by,
Probably would. I don't know.
I mean, I just put it out, but off the top of my head, I don't really know that. But you can find it.
Can't just guess, like, you know, I don't know.
Translate, or like,
I would agree.
Try to save this thing.
But I wish you could back it up.
Like, figure out.
Can you determine any of the angles of her triangles?
I'm not sure if it's triangle or what.
At this point in time, the only wrong answer is no answer. Talk to your group. See if we can figure any of them out.
Before you go, would you like a back?
You know what you're thinking, I'm gonna know.
Rob.
Ooh, I just heard somebody say something that's on the right track. Oh, was that you?
Huh?
Was that you?
Me, yeah. Oh, so you weren't even listening to me. No.
Alrighty, go ahead and bring your attention back to the board. 5, 3, 1, eyeballs. Table group 5. I was intrigued by something I heard from your direction. You want to enlighten us?
The central point of the polygon will be equal to 360. And if those three angles make up 360, I just divided 360 by 3 and I got 120.
360 because it put the three together. There's no overlap and no gaps. We have 360 degrees. Good. 360 divided into 3 pieces means each of those angles is how many degrees?
And then divide it at 120, 1/2.
Only if they were regular. We don't know that first, unfortunately. Right now, what we're looking for is this angle measurement. Does anybody remember what we called that at the beginning of class? Or the learning target? Ben, thank you. Central angles. We're going to continue working with central angles and how to identify them based off of types of triangles and number of triangles.
Wait, so I'm confused.
Okay.
So 120 is just one triangle or the angle that's for that triangle?
So this angle measurement right there for that triangle is 120 degrees. This one right here is 120 degrees. And this one right here is 120 degrees. You put the three together and they make a circle. Hey, thank you for asking. It wasn't clear. So how can we use the number of sides of a regular polygon to find the measure of the central angle? Is what we're just working through. You might see that number of sides is very similar to, or the same as, number of triangles that I can cut a shape into. What type of triangle is needed to form a regular polygon? These are the two essential questions that you are going to try through the experiment to identify. Yes?
What was isosceles?
Isosceles? Let's see, who told us at the beginning of the class? Thought we went over it. It wasn't the learning target. Okay, isosceles. Isosceles trapezoid was on the test. Remember that. Isosceles trapezoid has has a pair of equal sides. Isosceles triangle has a pair of equal sides. Good question. So we're going to do a teammates consult. A lot of times when we start a project of some sort, we go into it too quickly. Right, you guys are going to work in your table groups, you guys can face each other as much as you need to here shortly. But I gotta get you guys' attention while I give you instructions. So you're going to work together, okay, you're going to work together as a group. But I want you to clearly be able to identify what it is you're going to be doing. I want my reader, A, to have the book in front of them. Person A is going to read question 2 on page 474. You're going to read the problem and talk about what the task is that I'm looking for you to complete. Then I will call in a table group, and a table group will tell us the instructions and what we're trying to do, rather than me just saying it. Studies show that you will listen to your peers more than you will listen to me. So give this a shot. Reader, please read from page 474, question 2. And in a couple minutes, we'll have a table group explain the task to the class. Ready to go? Come on, who's my reader?
Place where you can save make a pinwheel.
Oh.
Um, have we finished the instructions portion, and then you can go. You guys have already read it? You know what the test is? You're gonna be able to explain it to me here in a minute.
Oh, geez. Can I go to Mahoney?
Start to learn if you're hungry.
Huh? Can I go to basketball?
Are you choked? Are you dying?
Can I go get water?
Well, I need to make sure that you stop choking before I let you go unsupervised. I don't want you to die in the hallway.
Better in the hallway than in here.
At least if he's in here, I can do something about it. I'm CPR trained.
Actually?
Huh?
I'm CPR.
I've actually had to do the Heimlich maneuver recently. Although they changed the name of it.
Alright, I'm good. Can I go to bathroom now?
Hey Karen, what are we doing? One more time, with confidence. Okay, when you call out a score for tennis, they have to hear you from the other side of the court, right? Okay, so pretend that we're on the tennis court, and I need to be able to hear you. What's our task? Making pinwheels with the triangles. So you're going to cut out the triangles off this sheet. Working with your table groups, you cannot do this alone because you need everybody's triangles working together for certain shapes. You are only doing, for the first portion of this assignment, the top triangles in 8-2, not 8-3. Okay, I'll hand these out, and you can get started. Asiel, I believe, was the first one to ask me, use the restroom quickly, and then rejoin your group in a second. If you only have a table group of 3, I'm still giving you 4 sheets because you will need them. Which means extra cutting.
Instead of playing these out in triangles, hold on. Okay, I'll make you please. Thank you for me getting out there. Can we cut out all of them individually or
Kyle, you're talking to your table group, right?
no, I was talking to you.
Huh?
No, I was talking to you.
Do you think your table group knows? Use your team as a resource. If you're still confused, then pull me in.
I'm not sure if I'm too careful about that. Here's advice also the same person. Well, don't listen to me. Look at the triangle and the full shape. And the each triangle?
Just be quick, because your team is waiting for you.
Yeah, hold And someone using hard to them? I don't know. I probably thought it was wrong.
You're on 8-2.
Okay, so I'm putting like all of the different, yeah.
Yeah.
No. What about you?
8-2 only at this point.
I'm really lost. I'm ready. What about you? What about you?
Okay, I'll have you pause really quick. I'm receiving a lot of questions about what we're supposed to be cutting out. What problem are we on? 8-2. On our resource page, do I see 8-2?
Yes.
Great. So we're cutting out the top shape. Then, what is the first sentence? Boy, thought I went through puberty about 25 years ago. Just did again. What is the first sentence after the word directions? Can I get a volunteer to read that for me? First sentence.
Carefully cut out the triangles below.
Carefully cut out the triangles below. So according to that one sentence, what is it that I'm cutting out?
The triangles.
Thank you. Where are they?
Below.
Somewhere.
Sometimes instructions are difficult. Sometimes we just have to read them.
Sometimes you just gotta say because. Because I said so.
So we set the tiny
Have you cut out a triangle yet?
No, it's not. What are you talking about? It's like 6 sides.
Why not?
No. Yeah. It's a triangle. It's not as big.
Probably could have seen
What's going on with your almonds? Just chilling. Do you not like almonds? It's actually, I think, better for you to eat slower.
Yeah.
Chew your food better. Helps you digest.
Okay, well, our mom called
I don't know.
Already done?
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll go next.
Hey, you said it down.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Oh, what?
Parallel, man. So we haven't cut out. What's next? almost have them cut out.
Yeah.
And then since we did the stop, all the way to said I can't.
So,
So
so we do it just randomly get take them from other times, like, or do we do
I wouldn't say you have to take them from them, but you can work together to create enemies.
we just make one giant one, like,
Sure. Using the corresponding angles, make pinwheels.
I love to eat. We can't just like.
Okay, that's like, that's just pretty much.
so do we just get other,
Or not going.
or do we make minis?
I recreated statements for one of these.
I learned about talking to my mom.
Alright, tension back over here in 5, 4, 3. Once they're cut out, we're 7 minutes in. I just pause the time. We now have the rest of that time to start doing what it tells you to do with the triangles. The corresponding angles on the triangles are numbered, so you might start by putting the ones together and see what kind of shape is made. How many triangles do you need to use? What can that tell you about the central angle? Record your findings in your notes. Then move on to angle 2. How many triangles does it take? What does that mean about the central angle? And then move on to number 3. As you get further and further, you'll find you'll need more and more of your partners or table groups triangles. Make sure you're not overlapping or have gaps in your pinwheels. They need to be consecutively touching side to side, keeping the corresponding angles in the middle. Okay, continue.
I'm still losing that's not
You got one here. Good.
I somehow lost one.
What?
That's the pinwheel right there. The corresponding angles right there in the middle. So what? How would you describe that? And could you figure out the central angle? Good. What about your ones together? How many triangles did it take? 3? So could you tell me what the measurement of angle number 1 is?
So we're making one new up for now, and then we're doing the. What problem is this?
So put them together, what does it make?
It looks like a.
360, good. How many of them are there? 3. So how would I figure out how much one of them is? So each number 1 is how many degrees? Okay, record your findings in your notes, and then move on to number 2. Please make sure you record your findings in your notes. I thought you were supposed to say that.
we start, not that there's nothing on it, but.
John Circle, what to say? John Circle and
Nice.
Take
How many is that?
Take 3. Take 3 triangles,
oh, what was it? It's like a unicorn.
So what does that mean about the central angle?
Yeah.
Did you figure it out?
What? What do you realize? Unicorns are real. It's just a water. It's just under the water. It's not flying.
Look at this guy.
Technically, it's flying.
It's good to have him in a group.
Yeah, but technically it's flying,
He doesn't know.
right? He's in the water and he's
And
flying.
technically, this is.
Why are you saying a walrus is a unicorn?
And it's the same thing. They have a nose and for a water.
Asiel, focus.
My bad.
I said looking 3 triangles. Can I go to the bathroom in a minute? I'd love to get the ring. Well, it's you. I was doing I'm not sure. Like what we're supposed to be doing, but I think it's 3 hours.
It's a little seed.
Try and figure out your central angle. Each of those shapes.
Like